Today we're going to talk about optimal performance. What this means is how to maximize the performance of each and every one of our athletes to maximize their potential. And I think we have to look at both the physical means and the psychological means. We're going to look at the physical first, just the structure of your practice. There's really 5 things you need to consider when you have your practice. The very first thing they need to do is have a warm-up. They need to go through a range of motion of exercises and stretches. What this does is warms up each of their major joints of their body. The second thing that needs to happen is dynamic stretches or exercises. This can take the form of doing lines, or it can take the form of doing some exercises, but you need to have some active exercises. The third thing is to have an anaerobic circuit, and what that means is you do some exercises and intersperse cardiac in between those. This way we're preparing them for the anaerobic routine that we're going to be doing. Our routines are 73% anaerobic versus 27 aerobic. So we don't want to be doing the running. That's not going to really prepare us. They can do that on their own for cardiovascular health. The next thing you want to look at is you want to do sports-specific skills, your jumps, your basic skills that are in your routine, your basic tumbling, sometimes even line tumbling. And then you want to have the bulk of your practice. And the last thing is we'll cool down. And this is very essential to your practice and to the health of your athletes because it relieves the body of the lactic acid that has been built up throughout the practice. Next thing I want you to look at, and I want you to consider this, is there's some signs of overtraining that we have to watch for. The first one is exhaustion persists after recovery. So after they've waited an hour or two, they're still very, very tired. That is a risk. You want to look at that. Secondly, they might be moody, or they might be talking about not being able to sleep, or they had difficulties, getting awake or going to sleep last night. The next one is they might be a little lethargic or apathetic to the whole process. They just don't want to be there. Next, and these are really serious ones, if you see a loss of appetite or they start having frequent sicknesses, let's say one week they have strep throat, the next week they have a cold, the next week they have mono, this means they need to go to a physician. This next one is weak immune system. Now let me explain something to you. If you go an hour and a half of intense activity without taking in some kind of snack, you're weakening your immune system. The next ones we look at are also very serious. Dizziness, breathing difficulty, disorientation, and rapid heartbeat. Those 4 things, you need to get them to the doctor immediately. There's something going on and it's beyond your control or your ability. The next 2 and the last 2, the first one is dehydration. When you become thirsty, you have already lost 2% of the strength of your body. So coaches and athletes, you need to be getting water every 20 to 30 minutes, and it doesn't need to be an option. You have to get water. And the last one is nagging injuries that persist. Maybe you have an ankle sprain and it just doesn't get well. This just means that you're overtraining. The next thing I want you to consider are some psychological issues that we might need to look at as a coach and as an athlete. First of all, you need to develop a sports psychology program. I have found this so beneficial in training my athletes and in them producing their maximum results. The second one is to use the PIC principle. It's praise first, inform them of what they did wrong, and then correct them. And if you don't know how to correct them, then you probably shouldn't tell them about it. The third one is 12 hugs a day makes one healthy. So we need to make sure we're giving out plenty of hugs. The fourth one is that deep abdominal breathing, the belly in and belly out, which is going to psychologically keep us focused on what we're doing. The next one is 10 positive comments. It takes 10 to undo 1 negative. So be very judicious with the negative comments that you tell your athletes. These last 2, we need to understand the characteristics of the different age groups of the athletes that we're working with. A young athlete needs more of a dictatorial approach where you tell them what to do all the time. As they get older, we have to give them more autonomy. We have to give them ownership of their routine. So when they get to college, they should pretty much own that routine because they've had a big say in what is in it. And lastly, remember that each child develops differently. They all have a different developmental cycle, and it's okay if you don't get your handspring till you're 12 years old. Clearly, I want you to consider all of the aspects here If you do, I promise you're going to have optimal performance out of your athletes.